Hello! Today, we're going to be defining what a balanced team is in VGC, and then we're going to analyze a game that was played on stream at the Sacramento Regional Championships this last weekend. Let's get right into it. So first, we need to define the archetypes that you can play in VGC. So every team that you see is going to fall somewhere on this spectrum between stall and HO or hyper offense. So hyper offense teams are teams that are built around offensive synergies. And the question you're going to be asking is, do they have a Pokemon that can live this attack? Stall is the complete opposite. It is, I am not going to attack, I am going to win completely defensively and shut them out of the game. And the archetype that we're going to be talking about today is balance, which aims to create true neutral matchups and have 50-50s into everything across the board. It tries to have a good defensive backbone that it's built around while having offensive pieces that are supported by that defensive backbone. Now, the question you're asking when you're building balance is, do I have two Pokemon positive into each Pokemon in the meta? Okay, well, why is it two? Well, the reason is because in VGC, you bring 4 Pokemon, and it's double battle, so there are 2 out on the field at the same time. So, in order to achieve that 50-50 neutral matchup, we need 50% of the Pokemon that we bring to have a positive matchup into at least half of all of the combinations that they could bring. And the biggest difference in philosophy between hyper offense and balance, because both of them, you want to have Pokemon that cover for each other's weaknesses, right? I mean, that's just basic team building. But the real difference in mentality is hyper offense is thinking, how do I overwhelm them with these options? And balance is more thinking about, how do I get myself into a good position with these tools? Hyper offense teams, when they start out, are built around an offensive synergy. So a fast attacker with speed control, and then you add another attacker that hits the things that resist your first attacker. Whereas balance is usually built around a defensive core. 2 Pokemon who can switch in on each other well, who cover for each other's defensive weaknesses. So, the match that we're going to be breaking down is a match that was played in the top 8 of the 2025 Sacramento Regional Championships between David Hunter and Akhil Goel. Now, this is an exciting match because I'm pretty sure this is the furthest both of these players have ever made it in an official tournament before, and it's good old-fashioned balance on balance. So, excited to share this one with you guys. Let's break down the teams. So first, let's look at David's team. Now, it is a fairly standard balanced team built around the defensive core of Amoonguss and Incineroar. Now, Amoonguss and Incineroar cover for each other very well defensively, and they give us some very important tools for balance. Incineroar gives us damage reduction with Intimidate and Fake Out, which makes it so much easier for balance to position. Fake Out is one of the most important moves you can have on your balance team. We also have Amoonguss with Rage Powder for redirection. Now, Rage Powder, being able to redirect moves, is another crucial piece to being able to get our big, bulky attackers into position. Amoonguss also has Spore, which is an unparalleled control move in terms of positioning. Just being able to shut down your opponent's Pokemon for at least one, oftentimes multiple turns, makes getting our pieces into position so much easier. Now, Incineroar and Amoonguss, for my money, are the 2 greatest VGC Pokemon of all time. You can make an argument for which one's 1A, 1B, but this is just pure classic balance. Next, we need to talk about the attackers. We have Gholdengo, who is being supported well, and Hydreigon, who is being supported well. Now, these 2 cover for each other both offensively and defensively. The only typing that resists both Dragon and Dark from Hydreigon is Fairy, which Gholdengo just slaps with Make It Rain. They also cover for each other perfectly defensively. Everything that hits Gholdengo for weakness, Hydreigon resists, and vice versa. Now, we also have a very offensive mode in this balance team, and this is something that you need. You need a win condition in balance, and David, a man after my own heart, has chosen Palafin as his offensive win condition. Now, it also works well defensively with the rest of the team, completing our fire, water, grass core between Palafin, Incineroar, and Amoonguss. They can all switch in on each other quite well. Incineroar loves being switched in because of Intimidate and Fake Out being live. Amoonguss loves being switched out and in because of it regaining HP with Regenerator. So all of these Pokemon have great defensive and offensive synergy, and the thing that really makes it a strong offensive mode is the Pelipper with Rain, so that you can kind of break the damage calc, and it really lets Palafin fulfill its job fully. So we need our offensive piece, and we need a way to support it, and the Pelipper is doing that. That's why it's okay that we stack 2 water types on this team, because we have Rain, and they are supporting each other offensively in that way. So this is a very logical, very well-built team from David. Let's go and look at Akhil's. So now looking at Akhil's team, you'll see he's also chosen to build around the defensive engine of Incineroar and Amoonguss, but he's built them a little bit differently. Our Incineroar is Terra Ghost, and Amoonguss is Rocky Helmet Terra Water with Sludge Bomb instead of Pollen Puff. Now, this makes the team play a lot more offensively, so his balanced team is leaning more towards the bulky offense part of the spectrum, if you will. So his attacker that he's chosen to go with is Garchomp. He says, I just want to spam Terra Ground Earthquake, and honestly, that was a great meta call for this event, seeing how popular Goldango was. So the rest of the team needs to support our Garchomp. What resists Earthquake? Flying, Grass, Bug. We have Electroshock on Archaludon. We have Brave Bird on Corviknight. We have Dire Claw on Sneasler. We also defensively cover for Garchomp very well. It's weak to Ice, Dragon, and Fairy. And as you'll see, we have multiple ways, both defensively and offensively, to handle all of those things which threaten Garchomp. So this team, while still being a balanced team and built with that mindset, is a bit different. So we've got both teams on the screen here, and let's talk about what these players are going to be thinking about during team preview. So if I'm Akhil, it's all about Garchomp. Looking at my opponent's team, the only thing that they have that can outpace Garchomp is Jet Punch from Palafin or setting up Tailwind with Pelipper, and both of those Pokemon really do not like going against Archaludon. I think Archaludon and Amoonguss just completely bully Palafin here, especially with Rocky Helmet. Imagine how much damage your Palafin is taking from a wave crash after hitting into Amoonguss. So already this looks like a very tough matchup for David, because Garchomp outspeeds, threatens Goldango, threatens Incineroar, threatens Hydreigon. The only real pressure that David has coming into this is Spore pressure with Amoonguss. You'll see Akhil only has 1 Spore immunity, and that is his own Amoonguss. Now he has Taunt on Corviknight, so the positioning of Taunt on Corviknight against David's Amoonguss is going to be one of the most important battles within the game to pay attention to. So if I'm Akhil, I'm definitely looking to exploit the matchup advantage that Garchomp gives me, and if I'm David, I'm definitely looking to lead more defensively, neutralize the Garchomp threat, and then set up for a Goldango sweep in the late game. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into the games. Alright, so getting right into turn 1 of game 1, we're going to see Akhil lead with Garchomp and Corviknight, which makes sense. He just wants to abuse the earthquake pressure that he has, and we see David lead with Incineroar and Amoonguss, which again makes sense. He has to lead defensively because Akhil has the main pressure, and he can Terra Grass in order to get around the earthquake coming out from turn 1. Now, in terms of turn 1 plays here, I think it makes sense for Akhil to just start off with Earthquake. You don't really know how your opponent's going to play. It forces them to burn the Terra early, which we do see from David, and now both Pokemon are weak to Brave Bird. But the only thing I would consider here from Akhil is, you really need Corviknight to taunt the Amoonguss, and we're in a position here where Amoonguss does have Spore pressure on both Pokemon. Now, the only Pokemon that Akhil could switch in to the Spore pressure would be his own Amoonguss, but his own Amoonguss doesn't really have a great matchup here against Incineroar and another Amoonguss, so it makes sense that he doesn't switch out here. I think he's just saying, okay, you can only Spore one of my Pokemon. If you don't fake out Corviknight, then your Amoonguss just gets taunted, and we can go from there. So he's willing to take this trade for the guaranteed damage coming out that will be the Earthquake. So David makes a really good call out here, really good play, calls out the Earthquake and calls out Corviknight staying in. So, the downside of this Corviknight set is he doesn't have Protect, so we get Fake Out and Spore into Corviknight. Now, this is a huge deal because it means now Amoonguss can just go to town. Amoonguss, the only thing that could stop it from sporing is now asleep and has not taken a single sleep turn. So, from here, we can use Incineroar with U-turn to position, try and get Gholdengo in. Garchomp probably wants to switch out. So, yeah, really good start to the game from David here. So Garchomp is going to switch out here, which makes a lot of sense. It's at -1. It's on a board that it can't really threaten that much. And here we get to see why Incineroar, part of why Incineroar at least, is so good. U-turn into Corviknight, doesn't do much damage, but that's okay because Corviknight can't Protect. This is a guaranteed U-turn that will go off no matter what. And because we have a slow pivoting move, we get to see what move our opponent makes first. Now, U-turn, think about it. If he stays in with Garchomp, then we just get into our Hydreigon, and we can go for Rage Powder and target the Garchomp. If he switches into Amoonguss like he did, then, oh my goodness, now Gholdengo is just in a beautiful position here. It's completely immune to Amoonguss. It does not care pretty much at all at what Corviknight wants to go for, and here we get the dream scenario. Remember how I said he's going to be looking for a late game Gholdengo sweep? Boom. Here's your window of opportunity. Because we neutralized Garchomp on turn 1 and waited for it to switch out, we now are able to pivot in Gholdengo, and we're in a position where Gholdengo is +1 against Amoonguss, +1 against Corviknight. We are completely winning in this board state, which means we can set up a nasty plot. The only thing that David has to worry about here is Garchomp coming in with tempo, so you'll see he is just going to continue to spore the slot that could potentially switch out into Garchomp. Now, he kind of has to call which one switches out, and the one he spores is Amoonguss, which I agree with completely, because Amoonguss is so bad into this board, you'd think it wants to switch out, and even if Corviknight wakes up, it's really not threatening Gholdengo at all, so we're just going to see some damage trade here. Akhil was probably going for Sludge Bomb plus Brave Bird into Amoonguss to try and take it out, but it stays asleep, and yeah, now we have Gholdengo at +2. It's still in the super positive board, and we can start swinging, start attacking. If I'm Akhil here, I really just need to get a free switch into Garchomp, so that's what I'm looking at going forward here. Okay, Shadow Ball into Corviknight, makes sense. You don't want to go for Make It Rain and lower your special attack yet. Corviknight, super bulky, lives that, and we're just going to see, Corviknight stay asleep, which is really rough. That's the power of Amoonguss. You can just spore something and make your opponent immobile for multiple turns, and yeah, no reason to do anything else other than just continue to spore the opposing Amoonguss. If I'm Akhil, I need to get Garchomp in, but I can't switch Garchomp in and get it spored. So I kind of just have to wait for Akhil to KO one of my, for David to KO one of my Pokemon if I'm Akhil. So Amoonguss Protects here. I think that's actually a misplay because it gave, our Chaladon a chance to switch in maybe on the Make It Rain. So I think, just continue sporing because, if you think about it, you're really in no danger here with Amoonguss. Yes, they could go for another Sludge Bomb, but that would require Amoonguss to stay in and burn Terra in order to take the Make It Rain, but, it's fine. Nothing bad happens to Amoonguss. You dodge the Sludge Bomb if they decide to Terra, so just a nice safe play coming out from David. Maybe could have slightly optimized more by going for Spore, but I don't hate it. So, now Akhil, down to his final 2 Pokemon, and here is the critical moment. This is what you need to understand. When you're in a bad matchup like this, there's going to be a moment where you kind of just have to outplay your opponent. We have Garchomp and Archaludon, who both outspeed Gholdengo, and David has to make a read here. He needs some way to get his Gholdengo to go in against these 2 attackers, and that's tough because we've already burned Terra on Incineroar, so we can't Terra Water here. So there's no way for us to live the Earthquake. So this is a read. Does Akhil double Gholdengo, or does Akhil double Amoonguss predicting the Gholdengo protect, because if Gholdengo protects, Akhil doubles into it, then Incineroar can switch in and get a fake out live for the next turn. So this is a huge turn here. As you'll see, David takes some time to think about it. He looks at the team sheet. He looks at what he has in the back. Okay, Hydra can win the game if we just get rid of Garchomp. And he makes the read. He goes for Make It Rain in the face of the pressure. And what does Akhil go for? Incineroar comes in, gets an Intimidate down on the Garchomp, goes for Dragon Claw into Incineroar. Archaludon goes for Flash Cannon into Incineroar. Gholdengo is left completely open. Make It Rain comes out, ends the game instantly here. And from here, it's just a matter of technique, closing out the game. It's just all you have to do. You could just sack all of your Pokemon, and then Hydreigon comes in. You know, all you have to do is not blunder Hydreigon switching in on a Draco Meteor from Archaludon. This is a huge read from David. Huge read. Excellent play. Understanding that Akhil is, going to respect the Gholdengo protect because, David, it's his only, it's set up. He wants to protect it. It's his only one condition. He's pinned, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the pin. He just attacks. Beautiful play. Game over from here. We'll see it play out. All that needs to happen is Hydreigon to come in. There's, a million different ways you can win here. You could literally, David could sacrifice all three of his Pokemon, and Hydreigon will just clean up Archaludon with a Specs Dark Pulse. So here, we just protect Gholdengo, switch into Amoonguss, Rage Powder, Shadow Ball. Even if Archaludon Draco Meteor crits the Amoonguss on the switch in there, Hydreigon just comes in, cleans up Archaludon, and we have more or less a perfectly played game one from David. Let's see if he can overcome the matchup difference going forward. Okay, so going into game two, we're going to see Archaludon and Corviknight from Akhil, and Incineroar and Gholdengo from David. Now, I think this makes a lot of sense. Our Garchomp, it just got intimidated immediately the last time, so it makes sense that Akhil would want to bring it in the back and try and get a free switch in into it, or switch it in when Incineroar is already on the field. And from David's perspective, if they lead with either Corviknight again or something like Amoonguss, then we have fake out pressure into the other slot, and we can get a free turn with Gholdengo. And it's kind of okay leading a double ground weak board because we kind of bullied the Garchomp in the last game. So I think this lead makes sense from both players. Now, the thing that you need to worry about here is, even though you have fake out, it's not a free nasty plot, because your opponent can get into a position where they are now positive on the next turn. If Corviknight switches down to Garchomp here, which I think is absolutely the right play for a kill, then we are pressured next turn by the pin of an Electro Shot plus a Stomping Tantrum, since we are Terra Water on Gholdengo. So here you go. Perfect play from Akhil, switches into Garchomp, doesn't protect Archaludon. Makes sense. You get the stamina boost. It doesn't really matter if they fake you out. You could just Shadow Ball here if you're David, but I understand. You're saying, okay, well, if Garchomp does come in, then I can kind of play around it. His game plan in this game is going to be to Terra Gholdengo eventually, such that it can live an Earthquake from Garchomp. Now, here, he has a read again. He can either not attack and go straight up for Make It Rain, predicting the same thing that happened at the end of game one, or he can protect and switch. And this is, what I love about the art of playing this game is you made one play the last time, and he's going to make a different play this time. I know it's going kind of fast, but you saw he went for protect there, and I like that a lot because, if Akhil does double Incineroar, like Amoonguss switching in, it won't faint. It'll take a lot of damage, but it'll still be okay. But best case scenario, we take a 0 damage turn, we burn the Electro Shot. I like this play a lot from David. Protecting Gholdengo makes a lot of sense here, especially considering we didn't protect it last game. This is what we call conditioning, which is quite a large topic, but it's, when you make one play earlier to incentivize your opponent to make another play later. We see David conditions Akhil that he's not going to protect Gholdengo in game one, protects it in game two, takes this double up, and this is great because now we've eliminated the electro shot threat from Gholdengo. We still have to worry because Draco is going to do a lot to us here, but I digress. This is positive progress for David. So now if I'm Akhil, I'm thinking, okay, I need to protect my Garchomp. You know, it's in a bad position here. It can't pick up a KO this turn with the Terra Water. I do agree with the Terra Water. You have to do it. You have to cover for Earthquake just coming out. Garchomp is going to protect. Very important play here from Akhil. You can't let your main pressure go down this early to a Shadow Ball. We're going to see a Rage Powder, and we're going to see a massive Draco Meteor come out. Now, this is important. The reason you protect is so that Archaludon can get this Draco Meteor off, so now Earthquake does have KO pressure on the board. Now, if Akhil goes for Terra Ground and Earthquake, it will now KO Amoonguss, and this is why Protect is such an important move, because it allows you to make these repositioning plays. Okay, Garchomp doesn't have a knockout available on board, but it will next turn if we can just protect it and get the call right on if Amoonguss protects or not with Draco Meteor, which, by the way, I would put money on the fact that Akhil Draco Meteored into the Gholdengo there so that it forces David to go for Rage Powder, because even if he gets spored on Archaludon, if you get that damage into Gholdengo, now we have Earthquake pressure. Point is, Draco Meteor has to come out there so that we have pressure the next turn with Garchomp. Important positioning note. All right, and now we need to get Archaludon out. It's at -1, and we want to click Earthquake with Garchomp, so of course we're bringing Corviknight back in. We're clicking Terra Ground with Garchomp, and here we're just going to trade Garchomp for Amoonguss. We say, I know you're going to Shadow Ball Garchomp. I know I'm going down, but I'm willing to take this trade for a KO on Amoonguss and the damage onto Gholdengo. So here we go. Earthquake comes out, big damage, Shadow Ball. We're just trading down at this point. Both players kind of got the positioning they want, so we're just seeing trades happen here. Critical turn here. We have Hydreigon coming in against Archaludon. Now, this is tough. This is tough because it's kind of a read. You have to read if Archaludon is going to protect in front of the Hydreigon or not. We have KO pressure with Earth Power or Draco Meteor from Hydreigon into Archaludon, and Hydreigon is faster than Archaludon. But Corviknight has Tailwind. So this is a read that Akhil has to get right if he wants to stay in the game. David can either go for Dark Pulse and Shadow Ball into Corviknight, or he can go for an attack into the Archaludon, calling it not to protect. And here, my better intuition as a player is telling me you have to double Corviknight every time. I know he could just go for Draco Meteor into me and KO Hydreigon, but I think, in my personal opinion, you have to leverage the KO pressure that Hydreigon has into Archaludon here and call the protect and not let them get Tailwind up. Hydra is the fastest thing remaining in the game unless they brought Sneasler in the back, but last game they showed that it was Amoonguss, so they really want Tailwind up. Getting Tailwind up is like the only way that I win if I'm Akhil, and so I think you have to call that. I think you have to Dark Pulse and Shadow Ball. Obviously, you know, I'm a little bit biased because I've seen this game and I know what's going to happen. But when I was watching the game live in the venue, I was screaming, you have to double Corviknight here. You have to double Corviknight. You have to call the protect and exploit the KO pressure you have. But David doesn't make that call. David probably knows with his intuition that Archaludon is going to protect as well. And the reason I say that is because he goes for Earth Power into Archaludon and switches into Incineroar, and the logic is, okay, well, even if you protect, then I'll fake out an Earth Power again on the next turn. But that logic is flawed because Akhil still has another Pokemon that he can switch into out of the fake out pressure and then bring in Archaludon later. Because of Archaludon's protect, it's able to be slippery and not get pinned down. So I think David knew that Archaludon was going to protect here, but he doesn't make a hard read. He makes a middle ground play, and That's a mistake in this position. You have to make the hard read here, because if you make this middle ground play of covering for them, going for protect or not protecting, the logic being if they protect, I can just fake out an Earth Power again the next turn. The problem with that is now Tailwind goes up and Archaludon can switch out and come back in a better position, and we're getting no damage on the turn. They get Tailwind up for free, and now David is on the back foot. We're in a bad spot here. We're locked into Earth Power. We can't target Corviknight. Akhil has a free switch. I mean, it's not a free switch. He's going to take damage, but the only play here is to switch to Amoonguss. He finds it. He gets it. Amoonguss comes in, and now Amoonguss can spore a slot. We have Gholdengo in the back, which is immune to spore, but will go down to a Brave Bird. So Amoonguss can spore either slot here. Because of Tailwind, we're outspeeding Incineroar, so Incineroar does not pressure with Flare Blitz. Ooh, and now we're in a bad spot. We're in a bad spot because Hydra is locked into Earth Power, and Corviknight can just continuously Brave Bird that slot. If Hydra switches out into Gholdengo, Gholdengo just faints. And yeah, you have to get lucky here. You have to call, hope that they make a mistake and switch in to Archaludon. But yeah, Tailwind is up. Amoonguss just outspeeds, gets the Spore off. Brave Bird from Corviknight just cleans up here, and yeah, from this point on, it's just really tough. It's really tough. It's not over, but it's really tough for David to get back into the game. He has to stall out Tailwind and then KO Corviknight before another one gets up with Hydreigon still alive to answer the Archaludon. That is the board state that we are trying to play towards if we're David. So, here we go. Brave Bird comes out. You just continue Brave Birding that slot because Hydreigon is spexed. It can't protect. If it switches, Gholdengo faints. It's completely pinned. Brave Bird, Brave Bird, Brave Bird. Keep going into that slot. We can pick up a KO there. Tailwind peters out. Here we go. This is the turn. We need to get another Tailwind up if we're Akhil. Here is what it comes down to. Does Dark Pulse plus an attack from Incineroar KO Corviknight? Or does Dark Pulse get the flinch? The speed interaction between Corviknight and Incineroar is very important here. If Incineroar can wake up and land the double up into Corviknight before Tailwind goes up, then David will win the game. But I think Corviknight is faster. Here we go. Dark Pulse comes out into the Corviknight. Needs the flinch here in order to have a chance to bring the game back. Corviknight is faster than Incineroar. Does not flinch. Tailwind goes up. Game over. From here, all we have to do is Flash Cannon Hydreigon, and then Incineroar is never winning the trade war between itself, Corviknight, Archaludon, and Amoonguss. David knows it. He's already looking at the team sheet, planning what he's going to do in Game 3. GG. Let's go into the third game. All right. I hope you guys are ready for Game 3 in a balance mirror, because we are about to make some reads. Already huge adjustment coming out from Akhil, not only bringing Incineroar, but leading it. And we see that Akhil's Incineroar is faster, which is a big deal because it means he has fake out pressure. David is Terra Grass, not Terra Ghost, so we have to respect fake out. We have to respect taunt. So great switch coming out turn 1 here from David. Hydreigon is positive into the board, it's neutral into Corviknight, and it's positive into Incineroar, resists everything it could go for except for U-turn, and it does not care about the taunt. Okay, here we go. Hydreigon, now in a good spot, now it can go for an attack. We have to worry about Corviknight, setting up Tailwind, getting Garchomp in, things like that. We're going to see Dark Pulse as the lock-in from David. Makes sense. You just need to start working your way through this Corviknight. It's been such a problem throughout the set for us. If you can get rid of Corviknight, then Amoonguss goes in. Okay, Dark Pulse does a good amount. U-turn does a good amount, and this is good for Akhil because now we get a free switch in. In comes Archaludon. We know that our opponent is locked into Dark Pulse, not Draco or Earth Power, so Archaludon is safe here, but the knockoff gets rid of the Power Herb. That's a huge deal. That means no Electroshot is available to Akhil in this game. Hydra needs to switch out, worrying about a Draco Meteor, which is why I think it's interesting that Amoonguss switches in here. I think if I'm David, I have to switch in Gholdengo here, because Amoonguss is just going to get taunted, and because there's no electric move, the only moves that Archaludon has here are Draco Meteor and Flash Cannon, both of which Golden Go resists. Golden Go also resists Brave Bird, also can't be taunted by Corviknight because of good as gold. So gold was just +2 into this board. So a missed opportunity from David, unfortunately. So big knockoff here. Gonna get rid of the Garchomp's Life Orb. We predict Corviknight to make a prediction. There's predictions on predictions happening here. This is what happens. Game 3 of a balance mirror. You're trying to get into your opponent's head, but unfortunately Amoonguss is in a bad spot here, so it just gets taunted. This is what I was talking about. If we could get Golden Go into that board, then it would force Garchomp to come out, and it would force Corviknight to be in a bad position. This whole game has just been, can Golden Go answer the Corviknight before Corviknight answers the Amoonguss? And so far, in this game 3, Akhil is winning that positioning game. When you're playing balance, it's all about lining up your guys with positive matchups into the Pokemon that they have positive matchups into. So with that logic, Incineroar needs to get out because it's negative into Garchomp. We get into Hydreigon, which would be immune to a potential ground type attack coming in, but Akhil just goes straight up for the Dragon Claw into the Amoonguss, maybe calling that to switch into Hydreigon. Here we go. We're positioning. It's unclear. We get the Pollen Puff as we switch in. That's good. We heal up the Brave Bird damage. Now we need to switch in. Makes sense to Goldango, trying to cover for a Dragon move from Garchomp. You see, this is just a cat and mouse game. Goldango comes in. Does Garchomp call it with a ground attack? Garchomp just goes for Protect. Okay. Corviknight goes for a Brave Bird. Makes sense. You're not worried about Spore. Amoonguss is taunted. You're just letting it sit on the field. We don't care if it clicks Pollen Puff. It's not healing that much damage. Yeah, we gotta get Amoonguss out. We gotta get Amoonguss out of this position here. It's under huge pressure. Akhil has an opportunity to read this. Has an opportunity to make a huge play here. David is hard calling the Earthquake coming out from Akhil. And Akhil is going to go for that. Terra Ground here. We see the Protect on Goldango. Great call. Great call calling the Earthquake. The reason Akhil is comfortable going for Earthquake here is because even if Hydreigon switches in, you have the speed pressure with Garchomp and can outspeed it and Dragon Claw the next turn anyways. Akhil is just making safe plays here, so I like how he's playing this. Alright, we're all in on the Goldango game plan at this point. David needs Goldango to go the distance here, so that's why we're going for Terra Water and we're intimidating the Garchomp. Incineroar comes back in, which is a great matchup into Goldango and Incineroar and Amoonguss. The only thing Incineroar has to worry about is Hydreigon. So it's very good play. As soon as that leaves the field, we bring in Incineroar. Okay, Incineroar eats up that Mega Rain. Another great play from Akhil. Akhil is on the initiative here. But now he has a Fake Out that he has to deal with. Okay, David knows his Incineroar is slower because of the lead. Has to switch out. Goldango protects in front of the Fake Out. Safe play from Akhil. There's what's the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is we just trade Fake Outs. This is why having the faster Fake Out, especially in a balance mirror like this, is so important. Oh, and now David's in a really bad spot because he could lose either Pokemon here. A double up from Flare Blitz and any attack from the Garchomp could KO Amoonguss, and also Goldango is at pressure for taking a lot of damage here. Okay, Incineroar comes in. I don't know if the Intimidate is going to be enough here. What does Akhil go for? It's going to be a Dragon Claw. Reading the Hydreigon switch in gets the critical hit. Okay, and Flare Blitz comes in. Okay, so I don't think the critical hit mattered there. Garchomp was at -2, but I'm pretty sure Dragon Claw plus Flare Blitz gets there anyways. So now Amoonguss is gone, and that makes the game so much easier for Akhil. He has positioned Garchomp amazingly in this game. He can switch it out now to get out of the attack drops, bring it back in later. It'll be the fastest thing on the field. There's no redirection available. Terra has been burned, so Incineroar and Hydreigon cannot Terra out of their weaknesses to Garchomp. This is a winning game for Akhil. All he has to do is finish positioning Garchomp properly. He's going to come out. Do we see Garchomp coming in? It is Garchomp. Makes perfect sense. You have perfect pressure here with Garchomp into the board. Going to bring Golden Go back in. Oof. Yeah, this is a tough spot from David from here on out because Garchomp just has the pressure. Only thing that can really go wrong is letting Garchomp get crit by Make It Rain. I could definitely see a Protect on Garchomp here and a Brave Bird to attempt to clean up the Hydreigon. Akhil could read that and go for Shadow Ball plus Draco Meteor to attempt to KO Corviknight, but then the thing is, even if he goes for that, Fake Out comes back in, Archaludon comes back in, Akhil's just so far ahead here, and David knows it, so he tries to go for a nasty plot, but yeah, all Akhil has to do is just attack. He can just go for safe plays here. I think Amoonguss going down was the critical turn. Crit might have mattered there if Akhil's Incineroar was not offensively invested, but I'm pretty sure if you're Assault Vest Incineroar, you should be Adamant Incineroar, in my opinion. So again, it depends on the spreads. Not sure how much that crit mattered. And here we go. It's just a cleanup crew from Akhil. We'll watch these final turns play out, but Akhil just has a safe play. Again, worst case scenario, you trade Fake Outs. David doesn't even go for it. I think he sees the writing on the wall. Stomping Tantrum is going to clean up there, and from here on out, I do believe Akhil just has the game. All we need to do is switch Garchomp out of that Intimidate, get Archaludon in here, and you know, the reason you're going for another nasty plot there is because you really there's no way for Golden Go to get through Assault Vest and Incineroar, and yeah, there's just no way. Too little, too late. Akhil wins the set. Some reads didn't go David's way, but at the end of the day, it really just was a matchup difference. Garchomp was just too much for David to overcome. He had to get too many reads right, and you know, when you can just go for safe plays like in the end game there, like Akhil did, it's just really hard to overcome. So really well played game one and start of game two by David, but yeah, we saw the Garchomp difference coming in huge there for Akhil. So really well played game by both players. Really happy with how Akhil played games 2 and 3, really just playing around Garchomp. Well done. So that's balance. I hope you guys learned from this set as much as I was able to. I had a lot of fun watching it and bringing it down for you guys. I just want to thank you all for all the support that you've been giving me on all the videos. It means a lot. And next week, we're going to be breaking down Hyper Offense. So stay tuned for that, and thank you for watching.